This video is mostly intended for Daniel, but I might share it with anybody else that I need to sync up with on linting and in automatic code formatting. The plugin that I prefer to use, and a lot of the professional developers that I work with in the ecosystem prefer to use, is Prettier. So what you're looking at right here is Visual Studio Code. And let me show an example. This is an example of some code I'm working with that I'm auditing from another developer, specifically Daniel, my Venezuelan developer guy that is working with me on Permissionless Software Foundation. And you can see that the linter found several issues. These are just very minor. These aren't like showstoppers. These are just formatting issues. And it's important when collaborating with other developers that you all use the same linting rules. And if you've never heard of linting before, it's the formatting of the text file, so that everything is conforms to the same layout and format. It makes it easier to read, easier to review, and easier to collaborate. So my preferred tool is Prettier, and I'm just learning Visual Studio. I have previously used Atom, and I'm starting to get my Visual Studio text editor configured the way I have Atom configured. So the way I got in here is I went down here to extensions, and then I was able to install Prettier. And if you want a reference, right here, I guess marketplace.visualstudio.com, and it's Prettier by Esben Peterson. And here's one way to install it. I think you can also just click up here and type it in. But this is what I installed, and then in my package.json, I've got ESLint installed, and I've got several ESLint. If I go back up here to the source files, several other ESLint plugins installed in the dev dependencies. So Prettier should read my and I also have an ESLint rc.json file, which defines the basic rules. And so what Prettier should do is it should read these linting rules and then auto format on save. And I had to do one extra thing. So if you read down into the directions, there's a couple this format on save. What you need to do is turn ESLint autofix on save to true, and you also need to be using Prettier ESLint library lower than version 6. Or it's really a bug in the library. So he's talking about, I believe I've actually been following this bug on GitHub for a while because it's been plaguing me. It's this right here, ESLint version 5.16.0. It cannot be 6. There are newer versions. This is the last version in version 5, and then they went to version 6, and there's been a lot of newer versions. But these version 6 break Prettier, and so that might be fixed in the future. But for now, anytime you want to use Prettier to format your code, you need to be sure to be using ESLint version 5. And so the only other thing after installing Prettier is go to settings, or I guess preferences, settings, and then so if you type in ESLint, there will be this auto fix on save checkbox, and I check that to true. So now that this is checked and Prettier is installed, I can just go back to this file and see all these linting issues. I can just save the file and it will auto format. And so if we do this now, when I'm reviewing PRs, or I edit a PR, or we collaborate on code, we'll both be working with the exact same layout when we won't get a bunch of linting noise when we're trying to review each other's edits. and it just makes collaboration much smoother.